conflict is the production of refugees and internally displaced people. We'll talk about the climate crisis, which is also part of one of the reasons for instability in many regions of the world. And finally, we'll end with a discussion on corruption that is a fundamental characteristic of many of these crisis areas. Let me, for the sake of time, let me stop here and give the stage on the word to Bernardo Venturi, who will introduce the last two modules and say a little bit about the Peacebuilding Agency, which I forgot to say and apologize, is co-organizing this academic course together with the University of Bologna. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Belloni, and greetings to all of you. Thanks a lot for coming also from my side to this open day, to this short presentation, just to give you a taste of the advanced course on conflict analysis and peacebuilding. We are really delighted as Agency for Peacebuilding of this joint partnership with one of the best universities in Europe and beyond, University of Bologna, Department of Political Science. This is, I mean, recognized. It's really an excellent university and department where to study international relations, but also more peace and conflict related issues. And the idea of this advanced course it's really about having a professional course that is not a master's, not long as a master or a more traditional academic program, and that allows in a few months to specialize on conflict and peace studies. So it's a really ideal for who has a good background already in international relations, global affairs, development, or law or similar topics. At the same time, as Professor Belloni said, for a professional younger practitioner that can really develop some understanding about this field that is really more and more important. The Agency for Peacebuilding is a non-governmental organization. I'm among the co-founder. We started 10 years ago. And it's a small, medium organization, really specialized in these topics from the very beginning. We are headquartered in Bologna, in Italy. At the same time, we work at the national level, but also internationally. We have a level where we focus more on policy work, both in Italy and especially in Brussels at the European level. And we conduct policy research. We love to call ourselves, to define ourselves, a think and do organization. So on the one hand, we really conduct analysis, assessment, evaluation. On the other, we work with political institutions and we work in some conflict areas. So we really try to bring what we know, our understanding, our learning in some conflict affected areas, or areas where conflict prevention is relevant, and at the same time we try also to learn from the field and bring back to the policymaker, the academic level, and so on. So this collaboration with the University of Bologna is really ideal for us. We work a lot with the youth. We think that the youth has a central role also in conflict resolution. And we have youth in our team, and we will be delighted to know you in the future if you decide to join this program. About the last two modules, the number 4 is really on analysis of intervention. We have a part on conflict analysis specifically, where we will present different tools as instruments of conflict analysis that are professional one, the one used by international organization agencies like UNDP, or international NGOs, international development agencies, and so on. So you really get the sense of what conflict analysis is, but at the same time, we have time, opportunity to really apply. We think that learning is a process where when you listen, you learn something like 20, 30%, but then you start also to apply and using it, then you start really to learn the missing part. This kind of course can be really a bridge between your study and more professional work. The same for conflict sensitivity and do no harm. Conflict sensitivity now is tremendously important. Development, humanitarian, in the same peace building field, with refugees as well. It's really mainstreams, and the organization really require this kind of skills. And we will bring some theoretical understanding from the do no harm concept and approach to the really how conflict sensitivity is mainstream through projects and program. At the same time, we will show you how to apply concretely in practical example. The same for monitoring and evaluation and learning. That's really a significant part of our work. We have experts within our organization, and we can really provide a sound understanding of what does it mean to monitor, evaluate a program, what does it mean to learn from when wrapping up a project or an activity. And finally, the last part of this module is of risk management and about working in country at risk. The last part will be on the so-called project work. So here we will have a first part on about planning projects, peace building projects, and it would be by a colleague. She's a practitioner, so can present really what does it mean in practice to plan and implement peace building project. And finally, it will be your time really to lead through the project work. The project work is an idea that we had for this part. We have seen in the past that works very well. It is basically, it's not an internship in another organization that takes a lot of time and energy, but at the same time, it's not just the work that you do alone, like writing a paper or something like that. We can call it like a teamwork. So you will work, we have some small groups of 3-4 colleagues where you will work on some real projects, ongoing project at the agency for peace building or in other organization that we can define together during this last part. The idea is that you can really see original documents, the actual implementation of the project, and contribute somehow. You can contribute through a small conflict analysis, attending some meetings, interacting with researchers and practitioners, and really learning by doing. So it will be an activity twofold. On the one hand, you learn to work with other colleagues together as a team. That's really important, to go beyond an individual dimension. And secondly, you learn from within an organization. So with some precise mentoring and joint activities, you have the opportunity, without having a heavy time-consuming activity, but to have a direct experience in a peace-building organization. And we think that this kind of activities can really bridge your skills and bring you toward more the professional work in the peace-building field. Let me stop there, Roberto, and we can continue with the Q&A later. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask Esther, Professor Sigillò, if she wants to start with a brief overview of the Gaza, please.
Can you hear me? Yeah. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Esther Sigillo, and I'm assistant professor at the University of Bologna, Department of Political and Social Sciences. And in this course, I'm responsible for the section, as Professor Belloni said, for the section focusing on the Middle East. And as you might know, the Middle East has long been one of the most studied and debated regions in the field of conflict analysis, as it concentrates multiple layers of tension: geopolitical, ideological, religious, and socioeconomic. So this specificity makes it a crucial laboratory, I would say, for understanding how conflicts emerge, evolve, and persist over time. So we all know the so-called Arab-Israeli conflict, but from the so-called Arab-Israeli conflict to the Arab uprisings, the region shows how global dynamics, such as colonial legacies, power relations, foreign interventions, and also transnational ideologies intersect with local struggles. So from this perspective, the Middle East is not simply a region in conflict, I would say. It's a space through which we can question how the concepts of security and peace are defined and even contested. So within this broader context, I will be leading a 5-hour module focusing on Gaza. So today I've got this mission impossible of talking about Gaza in just 10 minutes, which actually are 8 minutes because I have already spoken for 2 minutes. And I will do my best to provide some context and give you an overall idea of what we'll be doing together. So first of all, why Gaza? We focus on Gaza not only because it is currently in the international spotlight, but also because this small Palestinian territory encapsulates long-standing regional tensions that are shaped and intensified by broader global dynamics. For instance, decades of foreign interventions, shifting international alliances, but also the legacies of the Cold War have left their mark on local politics and conflicts. So Gaza is one of the most densely populated areas in the world, with over 2 million people living under blockade right now. From this perspective, its political, humanitarian, and security situation now reflects 75 years of regional instability, repeated cycles of violence, and also a series of failed peace processes. Let's think about the last 2 years. In the past 2 years alone, characterized by a brutal escalation of violence, ceasefires reached in December 2023, and the ceasefire of March 2025 collapsed. And the truce that is ongoing right now, that is in place since October, remains extremely fragile, with ongoing violations and limited access to humanitarian aid in the Strip. In the meanwhile, as we all know, discussions about governance and also reconstructions are ongoing. The most recent peacebuilding proposal, the Sharm el-Sheikh Agreement, also known as the President Trump 20-point plan, announced last September, builds on 4 main pillars, which are security, socio-economic reconstruction, international supervision of institutions during the first transitional period, and regional and international cooperation. So this plan sounds very ambitious, but it raises several critical questions, open questions. Some among them are related to issues of political representation and legitimacy, for instance. Who will govern Gaza during a transitional period? And how can institutions respect the political expressions of the Palestinian people? Hamas somehow remains a central actor, yet it is deeply divided from the Palestinian Authority, which governs the West Bank and is widely discredited locally, however. Other movements, such as the Islamic Jihad, the Popular Front, the leftist Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, add further complexity. So let's keep in mind also the local actors. So one question is, can international supervision strengthen legitimacy, or will it be seen as an external imposition that undermines local agency? Another crucial issue is about the notion of security. How can Israel's security be ensured without creating insecurity for Palestinians? How can prevent a focus on security from undermining the civil rights of the population? Another central question is about the role of external actors, regional, international, multilateral. How actors from Israel and Egypt to the US, Gulf countries, Turkey, and others influence reconstruction, and could competing agendas turn a recovery into another arena of geopolitical competition? Finally, last but not least, what role can the United Nations realistically play, considering all the limitations, the institutional limitations? Can it support governance effectively, or is at risk of being just a symbolic intervention? So these and also other questions will be the questions that we will explore in this module. And these questions do not simply concern immediate policy decisions, but I would say that they reveal deeper tensions in how conflict and peace building is conceived, implemented, and also legitimized. So to analyze Gaza and its ongoing challenges, we will use in particular the framework of critical security studies that, unlike traditional approaches that focus narrowly on military threats or state-centered solutions, critical security studies encourages us to ask very few but very powerful questions. For instance, whose security is prioritized, and how security is defined, by whom and for whom, whose voices are included and whose voices are excluded, what are the social, political, and economic consequences of security interventions. So by asking these questions, critical security studies allows us to do three things: to understand conflict and peace as socially constructed processes rather than fixed or very technical phenomena, by revealing the power relations that underpin them. The second thing is that it draws attention to the dynamics that produce insecurity and shape political, social, and humanitarian outcomes. And last but not least, it examines the interplay between local realities and international interventions. So in this module, what I would like to do, and I think it's quite innovative, we will combine theoretical perspectives with real-world political materials, from policy reports to NGOs data to testimonies from Gaza and regional research, regional scholars, giving students the chance to develop skills that are both analytical and also practical. So attending this module, students will learn to critically examine how conflicts arise, persist, and are managed through the case study of Gaza, to assess peace-building initiatives beyond official discourses, beyond official narratives, considering their social, political, and ethical, and also the ethical dimensions. And last but not least, apply a critical lens to understand how global and local dynamics interact to shape conflicts and also reconstruction processes. And I will move to the conclusion by saying that Gaza as a case study is not just a crisis, humanitarian tragedy, and we could define it in several ways, but it's also a mirror, I would say a mirror, through which we can observe broader dynamics in international politics and peace building. So studying Gaza critically allows us to move beyond simplistic narratives of peace and war, of failure and success, of international interventions, but it encourages us to ask the deeper questions. How is conflict managed? How is peace built? For whom? But also at what cost? And I stop here. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you very much for very stimulating presentation, and also for keeping within the time frame that we gave ourselves. So I'd like to give the opportunity to Professor Puleri to share some of his insights on the situation in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you a lot, Professor Belloni, and thank you all for being here today. That's a pleasure to see you all. Actually, I'm Marco Puleri. I teach courses mostly devoted to post-Soviet political and social developments at the Department of Political and Social Sciences at the University of Bologna. And I've been entrusted with the role of introducing you to, we could say, the long journey throughout the Eurasian region. And as far as we will see, actually contextualizing the war in Ukraine and the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation within the Eurasian dynamics will be quite a challenging issue for all of us, and also an issue that will let us understand the long-term developments of a region that has been highly affected by the emergence of conflicts in the aftermath of the collapse of the Soviet Union. That's why today I would like maybe to give you a couple of insights about the different steps we will have all along our classes in order to understand the background of a conflict that, as it happened in the case presented by Professor C.G. Law, actually has regional-based roots that then evolved through, we could say, throughout time, also to incorporate and integrate what we could describe global dynamics and global development. So I believe that starting from regional dynamics can be also of help to us in order to understand what are the interests at stake, what are the backgrounds also of the different actors involved in dealing with the negotiation process, and let us understand also what have been other experiences of peace building in the region, having the Russian Federation being involved, and other actors such as Ukraine actually playing a role within these dynamics. And in order to do so, and in order also to let you visualize what we are talking about, I prepared a few slides, a few maps, in order to let you have a look about what we will do together. First of all, let's start with this map. In the area in green, actually you can see the region we usually describe as being the post-Soviet region, that is the region made by the 15 former Soviet republics becoming independent states in the aftermath of the collapse of the Soviet Union in December 1991. Why I'm showing you this picture? Because actually the roots of the conflicts we are witnessing today in Ukraine actually have to be found in a long-term process, in the long-term process of the collapse of the Soviet Union. And as far as we will see, this long-term process of the collapse of the Union has led as for what is its last stage in these 3 decades to the war in Ukraine. And the war in Ukraine, we could describe the war in Ukraine as being the kind of last stage of tensions within the region that has created the ground for a long series of conflicts. While referring to the war in Ukraine, we are not referring to the first war erupting out of the collapse of the Soviet Union, but one of the last wars erupting within the region, starting from the late 80s and since the 90s, that are there to tell us that actually those borders that came to be mutually agreed by all the partners involved in the Soviet collapse actually are subject to contestation coming from different actors and resulting from different interests within the region. I would say that in order to integrate such a map with some more insights from conflict areas, we could even talk about areas, gray areas emerging in post-Soviet Eurasia all along a period preceding the start of the full-scale invasion of Ukraine by the Russian Federation in 2022, and involving several examples of conflicts emerging within post-Soviet Eurasia, such as the case of Transnistria, or Abkhazia and South Ossetia in Georgia, or Nagorno-Karabakh in Azerbaijan. All of these conflicts actually will provide us with examples of conflicts emerging within the region, processes that are in most of the cases actually developing along similar lines, and results of peace-building processes within the region. And in most of these conflicts, we will see how the Russian Federation did play a role in bringing to we could say a solution, or we could say a stalemate within the region that eventually will play, and the decisions taken in previous decades actually will play a role also in the case of Ukraine. So the tensions around the making of borders within post-Soviet Eurasia will be at the core of our debate in order to contextualize the dynamic of the current war in Ukraine, and giving us also a broader picture of post-Soviet Eurasia as being a region made not only by the 15 newly independent states emerging out of the collapse of the Soviet Union, but also by more than 4 or 5, we could say at this stage we can talk about 4 de facto states emerging out of these conflicts. In a historical perspective, we could even talk about more than 6, 7 actors emerging out of the region as a result of territorial conflicts related to the Soviet collapse. While referring to the dynamics of regional integration that are also quite crucial in order to understand what we are witnessing today in the case of Ukraine, this diagram gives us a kind of very chaotic perspective about the direction undertaken by the different countries making the post-Soviet area in terms of what have been their own perspectives in joining international organizations arising out of the collapse of the Union, and not, we could say, undertaking a kind of common path to post-Soviet development, to post-Soviet transition, a common path also in reorganizing politically the region in post-Soviet times. And this kind of chaos, of course, created the international background for the war in Ukraine that is also the result of, we could say, a not univocal direction to post-Soviet dynamics undertaken by these countries that eventually created also those tensions emerging between Western actors, the Russian Federation, and the local political actors playing a role not only in Ukraine but also in other countries of the region. And so, while trying to look at what the Russian diplomatic actors like to describe as the root causes of the war in Ukraine, I don't know whether you had the chance to read the news and to listen to the role played by Russian political actors in describing the solution to the root causes of the war in Ukraine as being the terms for even starting talking about peace negotiation. We will try to look at the history of Russian-Ukrainian relations in order to understand the language of these two diverging views of history between these two actors that, as far as we saw, even in discussions and debates between Trump and Putin in recent meetings, actually did play an enormous role. We will also look at the history of post-Soviet political developments in plural. So we will see how Russia and Ukraine, in the long-term development of post-Soviet history, came to reach quite a different, we could say, dynamics in terms of social and political internal stability. And finally, we will move to the role played by Russia and Ukraine in the international context, in order to have a broader understanding of the context behind such a war, and then move to the concrete dynamics concerning this war that, as far as we know, did emerge in 2014, and then in 2022 had a further evolution, and the different strategies adopted by the two actors, Russia and Ukraine, in dealing with the stalemate of the Minsk agreement that were the first agreements reached by the parties in 2014 and 15, how Russia, for example, weaponized the issue of the local population in the Donbas People's Republic by implementing policies such as the passportization policies, making the local Russian speakers into full-fledged Russian citizens in between 2014 and 2022, and then contextualizing these dynamics in the broader instability of the post-Soviet context in the recent years, the war in Nagorno-Karabakh, protest movements arising in Belarus and Kazakhstan, impacting on the way Russia decided then to move within the context of a frozen war in the Donbas region in the east of Ukraine. And this will be the groundwork to see together, and to go through the developments of the conflict in Ukraine as being the ground not for a single war that we could describe as the war of liberation and denazification of Ukraine as being claimed by Russia, but it's being a war that has changed a lot in the last 3 years. A war that has actually changed also the dynamics, the targets, the protagonist, and even the underlying meaning of the conflict for the parts involved. We will have also the chance to have a look at the different attempts at creating the ground for peace negotiation, moving first from the analysis of the Minsk agreement. We will see what have been the troubles behind the implementation of such agreements, what has been also the diversity of actors playing a role at times of the signing of the peace agreements, and what are the actors involved nowadays in the attempts at implementing the peace negotiations in current dynamics of the Ukrainian war, starting from what happened in the spring 2022 in Minsk and Istanbul first, and then moving to the role played by the United States since the rise to power of Donald Trump to the presidency of the United States of America. And we will also understand how even the discourse being mostly about borders of Ukraine gradually has moved also to involve economic, political, and global interest of the Russian Federation as being part of potential, we could say, negotiations in the next future. So I would stop here for the moment, and I hope to meet you all on the occasion of our classes, and I will give back now the floor to Professor Belloni. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been very compelling overview, and I hope that with these two presentations, the prospective students had the opportunity to appreciate the complexity and the depth of the problems that conflict analysis and peace building have to deal with in order to have a concrete impact on the ground. And before we move to the Q&A session, so we have in a few minutes, we have the opportunity to ask any questions you want to raise. I'd like to share with you, actually, Bruno Cortesi will share with you some practical information, and then we'll open up to your questions and comments.
Thank you very much, Professor Belloni, and thanks to the speakers who preceded me. Let me share just a few slides. Okay. Can you see it in full screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to provide you with a brief summary of the key elements of the deadlines of the call for application, deadlines, requirements, procedures, and registration fees, and so on. So first of all, these are the main deadlines. The call for application deadline is November 28 at 1 p.m. The entrance selection is based on the assessment of the candidates' qualifications. The final ranking will be published on December 5 on Studenti Online platform. And then from December 5 to December 15, you will have the time to register and pay the fee for the enrollment. Let me point out that the course will be launched only if a minimum of 14 students enroll, and the class will start with a maximum of 18 students. Admission requirements. To be eligible to the selection process, the applicants must meet the requirements that you can find in the call for application, and the candidates must hold a bachelor or master's degree in one of the disciplines listed in the call for application. Just to save time, I won't read this, since this list, you can find this list in the call for application, as I said before. If the candidates have a degree obtained abroad, they must submit a dichiarazione di valore, a declaration of value, meaning a certificate of equivalence of their qualification, together with the academic qualification, the transcript of records officially translated and legalized. The detailed information about all this procedure can be found in the website, in the website of the University of Bologna, in the page dedicated to translation, authenticity and value of foreign qualifications. The master, there are also other master degree that can be considered, not only the one listed as basic requirements for the course, and candidates with other degrees may also be admitted, but they have to provide a CV which demonstrates competence and knowledges in the technical subjects required for the course. And also auditors are admitted to attend the course. The participation of auditors is allowed up to a maximum of 20% of the enrolled participants. Candidates who are interested in this opportunity must email their willingness to be an auditor directly to the program secretariat, sending an email with attached the CV, and the email must be sent by the enrollment date, December 15th, and the acceptance of the request will be notified to the candidate by December 22nd. Fee for auditors is lower than the tuition fee, is 1,200 euros paid in a single installment, and the auditors are not required to attend each lesson, will not take the final examination or be awarded by university credits. And at the end of the course, the secretariat will issue them with a certificate of attendance stating the number of hours they have completed of the course. The documents required for application are a copy of a valid ID document, the CV, a motivation letter, and the graduation certificate. The tuition fee that must be paid in single installment by December 25th is 1,600 euros. That's all. Thanks for your attention. I think that now we can leave the floor to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I encourage you to ask anything that we'd like to know more about, and we'll do our best to provide you with all the information.
And don't be shy.
And of course, don't be shy. Any question, of course, is welcome. Assad, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Assad. First of all, thank you so much for this very timely course that is really needed at this hour. My question is, since I'm a student at Universiteit Ghent in Belgium, I've already completed all of my courses, and this academic year I'm writing my thesis only. So can I apply for this course since we are supposed to provide the graduation certificate, which I do not have it at this moment? And also, since this program is going to be conducted in Italy, I am supposed to be there. That's not an issue because I'm writing my thesis. I can easily grant a request from my department to travel there. But the requirements that the degree verification and the certificate of completion of my degree, which I do not have it at this moment. So can I also apply for this course or not? Thank you.
Bruno, would you like to try to answer, or should I? Or you perhaps you have more knowledge than I do on this type of issues? Or?
If I have understood, Assad doesn't own a degree by now. Have I correctly understood?
No, I do not have my master's degree as of now because I am still required to submit my thesis.
Yeah.
Okay,
So
but you have
I think
a bachelor degree?
Yes, I do have my bachelor's degree.
That's sufficient. That's enough.
so. I think we have. Yeah. So no,
That's enough to it's a basic requirement for the call for application.
Right, and I did not see the duration of the course. I don't know. So the course will we are supposed to apply by 28th of November, and then we are supposed to pay the whole fees by 15th of December. But what is the duration of the course?
Yeah, that's correct. The course will start then on January 15, and it will last until mid-June. To be more precise, the last meeting is planned for June 12. So the duration is 6 months.
Thank you.
Actually, sorry, 5 months. Sorry.
5 months.
5 months, sorry. So from January, mid-January to mid-June, 5 months.
And if I can just add, following what just Professor Belloli said, the course will run till the end of March in terms of more, let's say, the first part, so related to the classes and workshop, and then the second part from April to mid-June is related to the project work. So that part will be really focused on that. So there's no attendance of classes, but with the work related to the project work.
That's great. Any other question or issue? Yes, Sophia? Please.
Good afternoon. Maybe it's not an objective question, but would you recommend the attendance of the course in perspective of a PhD program, like as a base to start then a PhD?
Now, this is I hope it's not going to sound a self-serving answer, but let me share just 1.5 minutes of my own experience. I did my own undergraduate and MA degree, and then I took a pause of a couple of years to have a professional experience in the field. And what I can certainly share is my own experience that for me has been an extremely helpful experience to learn firsthand or to participate firsthand to some projects in the field. So I think because it gave me a perspective on the type of issues I was interested in as an academic that I could gain only by making my hands dirty, so to speak, and try to understand how actually things worked concretely in a development project or dealing with sometimes named beneficiaries of intervention and so on and so forth. So now this is not, you and the other students are not going to have like an experience in the field, but I trust that by participating in the project work, you'll gain a kind of unique experience that is going to be helpful for you. Then also, if you want to move on to some postgraduate or PhD coursework or PhD degree and so on, that I would imagine and I would expect that this type of experience is very helpful. Also because, so that's concerning the practical, the project work side. But also let us not forget that we will have the opportunity as well to explore some critical issues in conflict analysis and intervention, and some specific crisis regions and methodologies of intervention that I think is a unique opportunity to gain this broad overview of what the topics are, and I'm confident that that experience will also support your learning, and then will inform your possibly your research project when you apply for a PhD somewhere in Italy or abroad. So I meant to answer in 30 seconds. It was much longer, but I hope it's the answer is clear.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Zoe. I cannot really read very well the name. I think Zoe.
Yeah. Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, I just have, Bruno, an administrative question. So I am Irish and I obtained my bachelor's degree in Ireland, but my master's in Italy. So I have my master's certificate from an Italian university. Do I still need the declaration of value for my bachelor's to apply, or can I just apply with my master's certificate?
I think you have a degree in Italy, so I don't think you need it. You just use your Italian degree to apply. I would guess, okay. Bruno, am I correct?
I confirm.
Okay, super. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yes. Any other question? Now, I don't want to hold everyone too long. Let me just say, well, first of all, I want to thank everyone who participated in this meeting. I hope it was instructive and useful. Let me also encourage you to get in touch with us. The email is sps.peacebuilding@unibo.it, Italy. And if you have any question, perhaps something will come to mind tonight or tomorrow or the next couple of days or whenever, and you're welcome to send us an email. And you can also send me an email to my email address at the university, roberto.belloni3 @unibo.it. You'll find my email address. Just Google me. University of Bologna, my first and last name, you'll find me easily. And so I hope you enjoy this brief presentation and conversation and discussion on these issues. And I very much hope to see you in a couple of months, possibly, in mid-January for the actual course. Do you want to say something, Bernardo? Bernardo is our co-director.
Thanks, Professor Belloni, and thanks everyone for attending. Indeed, I mean, if something is not clear, both on the admin side, on the contents, on, I mean, professional trajectory, I mean, feel free to reach out by email. We will be delighted to provide more information also on the on the single modules, on more modality, attendance, and so on. Thank you.
So let me conclude by thanking everyone for participating today, and keep in touch and get in touch with us if you need to, and hopefully we'll all see each other in mid-January.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye. Good evening.